One. Yes. And go live. Yes. Hello, hello. Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, depending from the times you are watching. Labvakar, labas dienas, laba diena, dobry dzień. So we have a guest, Gary Alexander from Kent Teaching Solutions, and Latvian Chamber of Commerce are delighted and absolutely ecstatic, if that's the right word, to do a joint event. And what will it be all about?
So working in education. So I work for a company called Kent Teaching Solutions. We're based here in Maidstone, but we work across the whole of Kent.
Yes.
And basically what it is that we do is we help find people that are already working in education, or people that, are thinking of changing career and working in education, find jobs, albeit full-time jobs, part-time jobs, to work around things like childcare or any other things that you need a flexible working day to be, to things like long-term and short-term bookings, contract work, stuff like that. What we're finding at the moment is that the demand for teaching staff, both teachers and teaching assistants in mainstreams and special needs schools, is huge. And so what we're doing this Sunday at the 23rd of February is we are hosting an event at the Avenue Theatre in Sittingbourne, all around working in education. And our manager, Mark Mead, who'll be hosting the event with yourself as well, is going to be coming along and discussing in great detail the various roles that we have on offer.
Yes.
And that will be, just to touch on it very briefly, working as a teacher, working as a teaching assistant, working as an LSA or a learning support assistant, and various other roles within education in terms of what you have to have in terms of qualifications, and in many circumstances what you don't have to have, because people think you have to have certain qualifications to be able to do all jobs, and in a lot of the time as well, you just have to have experience as well. So certainly trying to appeal to a wider audience, not just British nationals already living here in England, but people that are overseas or have come from overseas or have been teachers in the countries where they're born, come to the UK and don't realise that actually they can work in education here as well. And Mark will explain in greater detail how it is that's possible.
And if I may, so good morning to everybody who started watching. I suppose most people will watch the replay, but we are doing a live Q&A session now. If you have a question to Gary Alexander about this event or something related to this huge problem of teacher shortage in the UK, then please ask them now, and Gary will answer the question.
Yeah, be happy to.
Yes,
absolutely.
So Gary, is there a real shortage for teachers?
So yeah, absolutely. And certainly in core subjects as well, things like maths, science, and English. Schools are crying out for qualified teachers, and to be a teacher in those subjects, you do have to have certain qualifications. Yes. But again, if you have been a teacher from another country but are qualified in that country, there's an avenue that you can go down the UK to have that qualification, if you like. If you're a fully qualified teacher in Slovakia, let's say, and you want to teach here in the UK,
yes,
you can absolutely do that with a very quick and short application online to a company called UK NARIC, where they will basically convert your overseas qualification to the UK qualification, and then you can go and be a fully qualified teacher working in schools here in the UK. And that's a process that we're happy to help with as well. It does not take long to do, but also don't let that put you off if you don't want to go down that route, because you can also work as an unqualified teacher here in the UK if you've been a qualified teacher overseas as well. And a third and final option is working as a teaching assistant here in the UK as well. And I tell you, the job of a teaching assistant, these are the unsung heroes of the education world. They are, they're always there with the teachers. They're supporting on a one-to-one basis with children that need additional help. They're working as a full classroom teaching assistant, assisting the teacher in the day-to-day running and teaching of the lesson. These are really, really hard working people. And again, you don't necessarily have to have a teaching assistant qualification if you've had experience of working as a teaching assistant overseas. But also as well, I'd also want to appeal to people that haven't necessarily worked in an educational background, but who are thinking of making that change. That's something that we can help with as well. And
Yes.
And what we do is, again, please attend this Sunday, and we'll go through it with you. But what we would do is get you cleared to work in our schools. And to do that, we have to take various things like copies of ID and proof of address, very basic stuff.
But that will be done afterwards.
Absolutely. And that's why we'll stay for an additional half an hour after the 3:30 session as well. And we'll, appeal to anyone that wants us to then book them in to come and see us at our office here in Maidstone and do the registration process. It takes half an hour. And we'll only need them to bring items which they'll have everyday items like passports and driving license, things like that. So nothing out of the ordinary. And what we'll do when they're ready and cleared to work in our schools, if they have never done it in any capacity whatsoever, but are thinking that they'd like to work in education, we will arrange for voluntary days at our schools. It's a voluntary day, a trial day, if you like, for them to go in and do the role of a teaching assistant or an unqualified teacher or a cover supervisor, as we call them here in the UK. And if they enjoy the role and the feedback is positive from the school as well, then that's something that then, they can do, you look to do full time with us and get paid for it. But I think for anyone that's never done it before, the best thing to do is just go in for a, no pressure, voluntary day, doing the role. So both
no
sides,
obligations, nothing.
No obligations, no anything. And then you'll know after that day whether this is a job for you. And some people come away helmets and they say, this is exactly what I wanted. This is the job for me. And then we help them. We'll find them that permanent work. No problem. Some people, they come away and they say, yeah, look, I'm really glad I've tried it, but actually it's not the profession for me. And that's fine. No problem. But unless you go and do it, you're never going to know. But what I do know, again, just to stress the fact of the matter and the reason why we're holding this event at the Avenue Theatre this Sunday, the 23rd, is because we are looking for people that want to work within education. Because, as I say, we work with schools across the whole of Kent, and we're never in a position where we don't have enough work for our staff. It's normally the other way around, that we don't have enough staff to fill the bookings that are coming in from the schools. That's normally how it is.
Should we talk about the money?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, I mean, it does vary in what it is that you want to do. So, for example, as a teacher, there's two different rates, if you like. You've got your long-term rate, where you will be asked to do all the responsibilities of a teacher in the UK, and that will be
fire alarm test.
Saved by the bell. And that'll be things like planning. Planning the lessons, preparing the lessons, marking any additional meetings and other responsibilities, which, the schools will go through an interview with our staff. And for that, in the UK, we have what's called MPS and UPS. So MPS is main pay scale and UPS is upper pay scale. And here in the UK, what happens is teachers, newly qualified teachers, so they've finished university. They've done a year, which is called their NQT year, their newly qualified teaching year. And once they've completed that year, they're then a fully qualified teacher. And they will start on M1. Now, M1, off the top of my head, is around sort of £23,000, I believe, per annum. Okay. And that goes to M2 to M3, all the way up to M6. Okay. Now, what we do as an agency is work out what that day rate would be, what that annual salary would also work out on a day rate. Because we pay daily. So you get paid for every day that you do. Now, in terms of a day rate on M1, it works out roughly at around sort of £122.50p per day. Okay. And again, and that rate goes up depending on where you are, how many years you've been teaching for here in the UK. On a supply basis, so some people don't want a permanent job. They say, Gary, I don't want a permanent job. What I want to work some supply. So maybe I'm going to do 3 days this week, 5 days next week, 2 days. The week after, I can't work anything. And for fully qualified teachers with the QTS status, which is the qualified teaching status, which is what any overseas trained teacher, if you're a fully qualified teacher overseas, again, for an example of present company, if you are a fully qualified teacher in Slovakia, and you come to the UK wanting to teach, if you've got the qualification to teach in Slovakia, you will be able to get that QTS here in the UK by simply going onto the UK NARIC website and again, we can help people do this.
Yes.
And they will ask you to email copies of your qualification from Slovakia, and they will compare that to the UK qualification, the teaching qualification, and they will then give you a teacher reference number. With that number, you are now a fully qualified teacher here in the UK.
So you are a bit stuck on Slovakia. That's fine. Beautiful country.
Absolutely.
So Slovakia, Latvia, Czechs, Poland, Lithuania, they are all European Union.
Yeah.
They all belong to the European Union.
Absolutely.
What about the countries beyond? Let us say Chile, Argentina, South Africa.
So countries, it does vary from country to country. However,
yes,
most countries that we work with, that I know, will all grant UK QTS. There are some that don't, but that doesn't mean you still can't be a qualified teacher. You would be classed as a non-comparable overseas qualified trained teacher. It starts to get a little bit complicated in terms of the terminology, but you would still be paid as a qualified teacher in the UK. So, for example, I've worked with a couple of teachers recently from Swaziland. And they're
really?
Absolutely, and a fantastic teacher as well. He is really good guy. He's a science teacher, science and maths. He is, and of course can't go into names because of GDPR, but a really good guy. He's a fully qualified teacher from Swaziland, where he taught. Come over to the UK, got UK NARIC on his qualifications, and it says in the statement from NARIC that he is a non-comparable overseas qualified trained teacher. So he is paid as a teacher here in the UK. And the only reason it's not completely mirrored as it is for countries in
yes.
Europe is just because the qualification does differ slightly in some countries. But for European countries, you know, the qualification, the topics covered is almost identical. So the UK NARIC are happy to give the qualified teacher status to overseas trained teacher because the whole course is very similar. It's just taught in different countries.
So let us say somebody is afraid about all the paperwork.
Yeah.
Can I just pop in and you'll help them?
I need to stress that really, yeah. I mean, from what I'm talking about, it sounds like there's a lot of paperwork.
Yes.
There really isn't. I wish I should have brought it over with me, literally. So the paper, I can go through it all now. What you would need to bring to us would be a proof of ID, so a passport.
Yes. Okay.
We'd also need
that's simple
2 proof of addresses, so a utility bill. That could be a mobile phone bill or a credit card statement or your driving license. Just need 2 of those.
Yes.
We need proof of national insurance, which everyone has here in the UK. If you're living like a national insurance card or a pay slip from an old job. Yes. We would also need your certificates from any qualifications that you've got.
Not translated any language, yes?
So
for the starters, or
so bring them in for the starters, and we can help you get it translated if we need to. And if you're an overseas qualified teacher, when you come to see us in the office, we can sit down with you and we can get that UK NARIC. So we'll help you with the application. Honestly, it takes 15-20 minutes. If you've changed your name at all, you'd have to bring a certificate to say you've changed your name,
yes,
or you've got married. And apart from that, that's it. That's all you need to bring in with you. Everything else we do when you're here. And the final thing, which is not done whilst you're here, but it's called a DBS, is what you need. Every person needs a DBS to be able to work in schools in England. It's if you like, it's a criminal certificate to say that you've got no convictions.
Of course, you are going to work with kids.
Absolutely, it's a real big safeguard. And if you have got convictions, it will highlight what they are. And based on what they are, we would have to disclose any convictions to our schools, and it would be then up to their policy to determine whether or not they could allow you to work in their schools or not, which is fair enough, depending on what it is that you've done, of course. And that's it. But honestly, like the whole process takes no more than 45 minutes in our office, and that's it. So nothing for there's not a lot of paperwork to actually get through.
So once again, good morning, everybody. People are watching, then they are dropping, then they are coming back, and you have a chance now to ask your live question to Gary Alexander from Kent Teaching Solution. So in short, this Sunday, February 23rd, Latvian Chamber of Commerce, my name is Helmuts Meškons, I'm the director of Latvian Chamber of Commerce, together with Kent Teaching Solutions, we are doing an open event that is called Working in Education. and it is all about you working at schools.
Exactly that. Yeah. And I know we just spoke about teachers then as well, but also in terms of teaching assistants. So, in terms of a daily rate for teaching assistants, we pay our teaching assistants, depending on where you live in Kent as well, because the closer to London that you get, the rate is higher the closer to London that you work. And obviously by the time you go into central London, it's a lot higher than what it would be in areas of Kent. But also the cost of living is mirrored really to where you live in terms of your pay.
Absolutely.
But an average rate for our teaching assistants is £70 to £75 a day. There are some schools where it's 80 to 85, but again, you're working then up in sort of Dartford and Erith and right on the River Thames up there.
Yes.
But the average rate is sort of 70, 75, and we know that.
And this event will be mostly about.
Well, both teachers and teaching assistants.
Location-wise.
Oh, location-wise. So, for us at the moment, it's Sittingbourne, Sheppey, Sittingbourne, Medway, Maidstone, Sittingbourne, Sheerness, Sittingbourne, Medway, and Maidstone. Then 4 areas there.
Yes.
Are they're the real big. And don't get me wrong, we do for anyone that doesn't live in those areas. Please still come along because we work, as I say, around the whole of Kent, and we are busy around the whole of Kent. But those 4 areas outlined there is where we find that demand for staff outweighs the staff that we have available every day.
If somebody wants to call you, what's the best phone number to call you?
So call the office phone, which is 01622 80 4025, and our website is kentteachingsolutions.com, all one word, all lowercase, and there's various email addresses on there for the various members of staff.
Yes.
There's our Facebook account, there's our telephone number on there as well. But please, if you can't make the event, get in touch. Still be happy to take your phone call and come in and meet you. Absolutely. But it'd be great to see as many people at the event as possible.
Of course, for all the nationalities,
100%,
including British.
100%. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes,
yeah. Like we say, if you are a fully qualified teacher or an unqualified teacher, if you're a teaching assistant, or, you're someone that has never worked in education at all before, but are thinking about doing it and want to know a little bit more about, if you want to work in education, but don't know how to, or what the next steps are to take to make that happen,
yes,
come along on Sunday and we'll be able to let you know what the next steps are.
And please do register. The registration link is here or in the description of the video. So the shortened the registration is absolutely free, which as due to the limited number of spaces, the theater can hold maybe 80 people, something like that.
Yeah, not many more, I don't think.
So please do register and come in, and Mark Mead will be there from Kent Teaching Solutions.
Mark, the branch manager, and I mean, Mark's been doing this now for 15 years nearly, and he's only ever worked in Kent. He's only ever worked in Kent education recruitment for 15 years. So, there's no question that he is not able to answer. That's for sure.
So once again, free event this Sunday, February the 23rd in Sittingbourne. So Sittingbourne Theatre. The full address is here on the very bottom. And please register and come in and see, are you fit to work as a teacher?
Absolutely. That's it. Do you meet the criteria? And we'll be able to, help people make the decision whether they do or don't.
And for the last, what about the mums? What about the mums? And yes.
So this is what I would say. And being a parent myself, I understand,
or dads.
Or dads, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Trying to, arrange getting your children to school on time and then going to work as well.
And pick them up after the school.
And pick them up as well. So this is what I would say. In terms of, obviously most schools in England are fantastic, and the nursery that my daughter goes to are amazing, that they have breakfast club in the morning and after school club as well. So I am able, don't get me wrong, I miss her terribly, but, I've still got a mortgage to pay, so I've got to work. There's nothing I can do about that. So, I drop her off at breakfast club in the morning.
Yes.
And she's there from 7:30, and then I'm able to pick up at 5 o'clock. So I'm able to go and do, and it's the same for our staff. They do have these breakfast clubs and after school clubs in place. So please speak to the school that your child attends and ask them about the breakfast and afternoon clubs. But also as well, talk to us, because again, we're all parents, we all understand. And what I would say is this: for a lot of parents that we work with, they have to have advance notice of the bookings. For some people, they don't say, Gary, give me a call in the morning, I'll make sure I'm up and ready to go. And that's fine. For some people, it's, Gary, I must have advance notice of where I'm going so I can arrange breakfast club or after club with the school. And we can do that. I can't promise you that I'm going to have pre-booked work every single day, but what I can promise is that I will make sure I talk to you about all the pre-booked work that comes in to give you first refusal on all the work. But, what I must clarify as well is that schools love having the same people back time and time and time again. It makes sense. They have the same people come back. The people that go there, become familiar with the school. They get familiar with the children, and it all works really nicely. So what I would say is, don't worry about, am I going to have enough work or am I not going to have enough work? The short answer to that is this: if you go and you get on well and you leave a good impression at the school, they will rebook you. You will be going back to the school, and then you get the pre-book, but can we have that person back next Tuesday? Can we have them back next Thursday? Yes. Before you know where you are, your diary's full, of work. But they also say, can I book that person for the next year? Can I book that person for the next 6 months? I've got a maternity cover or a paternity cover coming up. Can I book them? So you get long-term blocks of work, and you don't have to accept any of it. You can only, you only need to accept the work that you want to. By law, you're not obliged to accept any booking that we offer. You can accept the work that you want to do, and you can turn and say, guys, I can't do that.
And nobody will be punished.
Nobody will be punished. That's just life. That's the benefit of working as a supply teacher or a supply unqualified teacher or a supply teaching assistant. Work the days that you want to work and don't work the days that you don't.
Absolutely.
It really is as simple as that. And we can help you to find a way around pretty much anything in terms of, I had one lady that I spoke to. It was just before Christmas, so in December time, and her school were fully at full capacity for the breakfast clubs, so there was no room. So Gary, look, I've got no room for my child at breakfast club. So the earliest that I could get to schools is going to be 8:30, 8:45, and if there's traffic getting through Maidstone, it may even be 9. And I said, look, come in, register with us. Okay. And all I can do, I can't promise you that I'm going to be able to get you loads of bookings, but I'm sure there's going to be a school out there that are going to accommodate. And she was a really lovely lady. And anyway, first school that this lady went to, they saw what a fantastic job that she did, and they said, look, do you know what? We don't even mind that she can't get it to 8:45, 9 each morning, because honestly, the way that she was with the children today, we're happy to cover the lesson for the first 15 minutes with one of their internal stuff until she gets here. And that's what I'm saying, you never know until you try, until you ask. So don't let anything put you off. Come along, find out what it's all about, and make a decision once you've got all the answers. That's the only thing, that's the way forward.
So Sunday, 23rd, February the 23rd, Sittingbourne Theatre. We have an open event. Registration is down here, and probably, we will have 1 or 2 more live Q&A sessions before this event. Short ones for 20 minutes to 30 minutes, where you are encouraged to ask your question to Gary Alexander from Kent Teaching Solutions. Thank you, and
thank you. See you on Sunday.
See you on Sunday. Please register today.